You guys told me to grow out a beard, but seriously, if I grow out a beard, it's gonna look like Fu Manchu. And this is going to be Fu Manchu talks about Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, that aside, hey guys, it's Talonbox, welcome to MST.TV, and this video is gonna be a special one because this is going to be my deck profile on the DRYTRON deck that I managed to play over the weekend. Talonbox, didn't you say you can't get the DRYTRON Novas because USPS screwed you over? Yes, they did screw me over, and I had to source it locally, so I'm gonna give a couple of quick shoutouts here. Shoutouts to Marcus for helping me acquire this stuff. I did offer a high price to everyone for the cards, and no one was willing to let it go or lend it to me because I didn't know who actually had it locally, unfortunately for them. So congratulations, Marcus, for getting my business. Shoutouts to all my opponents: Timothy Parks showing me the Frankins match, Dylan Tell, also a very fun matchup as well, Chase Conklin for getting the draw before I got my out. Oh, I got my out, but you had the draw, so I couldn't even follow up against the play because you drilled me the second time, and that was it. But the spice kept me alive for a counter attack, so that was pretty scary. So I guess I'll show you guys some spice, guys. Shoutouts to Ryan Yu for being awesome. Triple hand trap. Yeah, that I was so confident too on that one. Shoutouts to Zohair Khan and Ojama Country. Yes, I'm giving all these shoutouts, guys, because these are the people that made the night very pleasant, and I'm doing it earlier. But don't worry, this deck profile will be much quicker because I laid everything out on the table. And there was another gentleman with us. I'm sorry I forgot your name, but you know who you are, and you are also part of this shoutout. Just leave it down in the comment section. I will heart your comment. And big shout out to Jesse Cotton because the build is based off of his stuff. If he didn't share his knowledge, I would have played a slightly different build. A lot of the cores more or less the same, but yeah, shout out to Jesse Cotton for showing his build. So make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell, and for you awesome Patreons, just a quick announcement to you guys: I will be putting you guys back on the credit list once I create a new end screen, and I'll make sure that I'll roll your names up because you guys made 2020 much more bearable. But anyways, let's jump into the deck profile. And so this is the entire deck that I ran. It's 43 cards. Yes, the spice is right here. The Dragoon package is part of my deck. How did I manage to fit it in is what 6 of my opponents asked me. Especially when they simplified the game state down to I only hit 2 monsters, burned my normal summon, and still managed to make a comeback through their 2 cards. Yeah, Dragoon package is how it's done. Did I ever break with the Dragoon package? Yes, I did draw into a Red Eyes in one game, a Dark Magician in another game, but luckily you can combo off of 2 cards and build a decent board, and that's all I can really say about that. And sometimes you just drop a Vanity's ruler while holding these cards, and you just pray for the best. I did have one game where I had all 3 of these. I did lose that one. What'd you expect? Do you think I was gonna win that one? It was not very good because I just didn't have the resources to outgrab my opponent. But anyways, the packages are here. I have my DRYTRON package, Ritual package, the additional light monster that will be searched off by Ben 10, or the bridge monster here, my hand trap package, Dragoon package, and my spell lineup. No traps in this deck. However, there are traps that I would run in the future. Now, aside from this deck profile here, I'm also going to show you guys the combo that I typically played and that usually got me the game, and also talk about some of the changes that I would actually apply into this deck if I did not play the Dragoon package, and some of the other changes as well, like post-tournament, that I would definitely try to adapt into, including my side deck, guys, including my side deck. So starting off with the Dragoon, the DRYTRON package, we have triple alpha, triple zeta, 2 gammas, and 1 delta. No beta because I don't know how to use that properly, and I don't use the effect of Meteonis that often. I didn't even summon him out, to be honest. It's just there, searchable with Cyber Emergency. But I know that if you get Haquero, you can actually put your monster back in, and then you can actually cycle your cards properly. So anyways, here's my hand trap lineup, which is triple Lancia, triple orange, 1 purple, and 1 Eva. Eva plus orange is a really good combination to kind of end on, and you can force the end on this combination because it is something that you can search with Benton, since Benton searches are not once per turn. The Lancias, very, very useful against the virtual world matchup. Sometimes you just have to blind throw it. I wouldn't really do it until past the main phase in case you get hit by a gamma, because if you get hit by gamma, it is so much worse because they get a free 6 monster and they're gonna put it back into the graveyard because they're gonna sink it away. It's just something that's going to happen. But against dinosaurs, it's supposed to be good, unless you're me versus Ryan Yu, where I guess he already had the call by the grave, so he was 100% fine. Yeah, and that's really it. Did I use purple? Purple, I used it once to block a torrential from wiping my whole board. scary stuff. Ritual package, triple Ben 10 and Natasha. Ben 10 is self-explanatory because it constantly searches more and more fairies, and you will ritual summon it out of the grave. You should be ritual summoning it out of the graveyard at least once per game. Sometimes maybe twice per game. It's really useful to actually put on board, and then you can start cycling your DRYTRON and stuff all over again. There's also Cyber Angel Natasha. Natasha breaks boards. You put this into the graveyard, your opponent's sweating bullets because they can't leave monsters on board that can be targeted. Once you put stuff that can be targeted, you steal their whole board or you win in time because you constantly gain life. It has old school once per turn, and the effect to summon itself from the graveyard steals monsters, and it's permanent control gain. It's pretty ridiculous. Then there is DRYTRON, Meteonis, Draconids. I did not summon out this card. I would switch this up for something else personally, although it does have decent control. You can just send 2 cards to the graveyard. Then there's Manju of the 10,000 hands. You should at least run 1 copy just because you are able to search it out in case. Okay, if you only have the alpha and the Ben 10 and no other DRYTRONs, you can't go into your Vanity's ruler. It doesn't work. It's impossible. You don't have the bodies to do it. So you're gonna have to search the Manju instead, and the Manju will help you actually build a decent board filled with hand traps, and it will make your opponent struggle a little bit more against you. And then we can move into Dawn Knight, which is, according to Jesse Cotton's words, of course, Jesse's words were, this is the bridge, and it is. And when you use Union Carrier, this card can't be summoned, but the thing that it sends to the graveyard can be. And sent from field to grave, it's a Foolish Burial for a light monster. Vanity's Ruler, one of the pillars of the format, which I will go into a different video for. And then we have our package right here. I did talk about you can brick with this, which is why it's risky, which is why I chose to run 43 cards to shove the package in rather than run a 40 card, because I actually played Giant card on Saturday, and because I played this, I lost, and I was playing 40. So I changed up my deck and I played a different version, much better at 43. I did see it, but it didn't really matter for 2 of the games. One of the games it did cost me one game. Next we have Preparation of Rites, searching out Ben 10. Cyber Emergency, remember that your opponent cannot they can negate the activation, but if they do, you'll throw a card away, probably one of your DRYTRONs, and add it back to your hand, doubling up your DRYTRONs, making this card mainly just ashable, but definitely not negatable with like Dragoon and stuff, and hitting with Dragoon is like one of the biggest misplays. DRYTRON Novas, triple DRYTRON Fafnir, so yeah, there's these ones. Typically side some of these out when you get to game 2 and 3 because you're going to get hit by Droll. And you get hit by Droll on your Nova, it feels not that great. There is also Meteonis DRYTRON, just 1 copy. 1 Foolish Burial, which is just a Cyber Emergency basically. And 1 Call by the Grave, because Call by the Grave is equivalent to having your Gamma, because they're going to hand trap you with Ash and stuff. So this is the build that I ran with. The conversation pieces here, which is the Zeta and the Delta. The Zeta, you can change up the numbers because you don't really need the Zeta later on because it's literally just the body, whereas Delta, Altais, you get to draw cards and you can actually replenish your hand and push it much further. What if you draw into additional emergency? What if you draw into additional hand traps? What if you draw into additional cards? It is always useful. Any of these cards that you draw will make all of your DRYTRONs in your graveyard live, so this is definitely a lot more benefit. If you haven't searched Manju and you draw into a Manju, you get additional 2 monsters because it's +1 from there. As for the hand trap lineup, do you need to play triple Lancia? That is a question. Typically, if you're going to be going first, you kind of can side out maybe 1 or 2 of your orange lights, because if you open with too many of your hand traps, which is one of my games, I opened what did I open here? I opened an orange light, I opened a Natasha, a Draconids, which that's what kind of like, I'm not favoring this card. I opened 1, 2, 3, 4, and there was another card here. It was none of these. I think it was the Call by the Grave, and it was not useful. I could not play whatsoever, and then I top deck another orange light, and I just didn't see anything here. None of these cards showed up. So speak kind of iffy about that, but this is the build so far. That's why people kind of want to play more of the Delta over the Zeta. And during games 2, I typically side out maybe 2 copies because it's more likely that I'm going to be summoning out the Manju instead of using the Zeta to fetch the Meteonis DRYTRON ritual spell. That's kind of my take on it. Ben 10, you should play it, and Natasha's just not once per turn when it comes to the graveyard effect, and it's once per turn when it comes to like the life gain, and you can win in time. I did win in time once with this. I really want to try this out properly, but I think I might try a different monster. I've been suggested a different monster to try out to give it a bit more of a boss oomph to it. Ideally, you always want to end with a Vanity's Ruler, but the way I end my board right now is Vanity's Ruler plus a Dragoon plus hand traps. It is a nightmare for my opponent's play, and I had to blindside 3 games at the very least because of it. So there was that. Pretty rough. And I didn't win very many die rolls either. I think I lost 6 die roll, won 3, and those are the 3 that I managed to set up the board. It's pretty easy. And that would be the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck. Okay, for my extra deck, how did I fit this package in here? Well, there's a couple of cards I had to cut out, like Geonator, Transverser, IP Masquerena, and Cerberus. Well, the Cerberus can probably come out from somewhere else, but let's kind of talk about every card choice here. Zeus is obvious because Zeus is just a really good way to break boards. Assemble Nightingale because it can, well, basically outplay the DRYTRON because it has a quick effect to protect itself from battle and card effects, and you can do direct attack. So this is basically the rank 1 Borbo that is protected. Kiki Nagishi Fucho is kind of like that. Just if you get drolled and you need to sit on something, you can sit on the Nightingale. So this one is the one card that I probably would cut, but I did manage to use it once where I was really afraid of just getting my cards kind of stolen or ripped apart. But this one is unaffected by all card effects naturally, and you can use Detach 2. If this one didn't have the Detach 2, I think I would prefer that over this because I would detach 1 and then swing, and you take no battle damage too involving this card. If that was a detached 1, this card I think would be better, but since it is not a detached 1, it is a detached 2, you won't be able to go into Zeus anymore after the fact. So that part really sucks. So this is actually why I would cut it. But if you get drolled, going to either of these can prevent you from dying because, well, they'll have to send it to the grave some way or another. Because this one's unaffected by card effects, this one can get hit by a unicorn, get spun away. This one will actually stay on the board and keep you alive, and you basically take no damage. So you can skip the whole turn where droll would be an issue and hope that they don't banish out everything in your graveyard. Now to the Dragoon package, you have one of these, and to fit that I had to cut away a couple cards. Geonator, the Transverser, this was cut. And unfortunately, that was actually a pretty miscut here because I think I would have just taken this way and put the Geonator back in because the Geonator is just that good. Because it makes the Zodiac matchup more or less much easier to tackle, like way easier. And if people misplay, there's not a lot of safe zones that you can summon your monsters out anymore with this deck because there's only the one closest to the graveyard is the safest zone. If they don't, you can either steal the monster with Relinquish Anima, or you can switch control with them with something that's completely useless. So yeah, anyways, we have the Dragoon package. We have the package that basically does not exist because I didn't play against any of the Dogmatica stuff, which is Entis, the Genova, to summon out the Mechaba. So those never really happened. Access Kotaker, Unicorn, Phoenix, Mirage Lights. One of my matches MVP because I got the tempo thanks to this card. It can negate spell and trap effects by sending away fairies. Because it sent away a fairy, we got into a simplified game state where I had this and my opponent had no cards. I'm top decking, hoping to get another like machine monster. We got hit by hand traps 3 times, but because I changed the tempo, where I know he had the Eldritch in the graveyard, the Golden Lord, but the Golden Lord needed to be able to say summon out. He had a copy of Sanguine that he was going to activate, and when he did, I had to change this so that it was going to get banished and not get anything. And then the other cards that had Quero could not actually bring anything back. So it was a lot slower because he already summoned. So that's kind of a really fun card that I think is 100% useful, especially if you have the rituals engraved. You get to add different name rituals back to your hand. This Union Carrier, you have to play these 3. You have to play Union Carrier, Relinquish Anima, and Linkuriboh, because the Linkuriboh and the Relinquish Anima can go into your Union Carrier, turning 2 of your monsters immediately into the Union Carrier, setting you up for that whole fusion play very easily, very cheap, and this is also a minor threat as well. And of course, Linkuriboh is there for your getting rid of your own DRYTRON monster, putting into the graveyard by linking them away. So that's more or less the extra deck. a quick talk about the side deck. We have triple Cosmic Cyclone, useful. Triple Nibiru, useful. Double Ash, useful. Wish I had a third one. Harpy's Feather Duster, not very useful. I didn't play against any Dogmatica, so it didn't really matter. And I guess it would be just a 1-for-1 trade against like, well, I guess it's not really 1-for-1 trade. Unless they start deciding in some of those summon limits, it could be useful against that. But I suppose it's okay. But I kind of wish it was a third Ash. Then for the 3 Dark Ruler, I won 1 game with it because I stunned out a Dragoon, broke the board, and took full control, and then dropped my ruler on top, and then that was more or less game. But the other one, I got Imperial ordered, and then it didn't work, and I died. So it's give or take. I definitely would switch it out for sure. I had it in a couple of games where it just didn't even need it. Then there was, like, I broke the whole board holding on to the card. That was how ridiculous DRYTRONs are. If they don't have a board that like completely shuts you out, having this card doesn't exactly help you. So I don't know if I actually really need this, but seeing that there's going to be a lot more people running DRYTRONs and dealing with a Vanity's ruler is going to be a top priority, you may see this card run a bit more, or you might even see the return of a couple of stealing cards. I think Mind Control is legit. Like, Mind Control, take the Vanity's ruler so your opponent can't summon, and then you build your board, and you can even, the thing is, it's Vanity's rule, you can even link it away. That's why Mind Control might be a future considered candidate. And then Triple Draw Lockbird, I never saw it, but I just didn't actually need to side against it because I didn't play against many DRYTRONs. I guess it's just the weekend. The weekend didn't have that many DRYTRONs floating about, or just, I never just got a chance to play it. I just took a different path in terms of my run in the tournament. But that's a quick rundown for my side deck. And then I'll talk about the stuff I want to change at the end, but let's just go through a couple of quick combos because, I've just been talking for now. Okay, for this particular combo, I'm going to show to you guys the 2 card that I'd use to basically win most of my games. Yes, this can get you into Vanities plus 2 Negate just with these 2 cards, and I'll show you every step. But I'm also going to talk about all the branch moves that you can do just with 2 monsters. It's very, very effective, I would say, to just build a proper board with this. But anyways, let's get into it. So starting off, we're going to activate Alpha, sending the Zeta. In this hand, we did not start with the Ben 10, all right? And we're gonna summon out the Alpha, and this is going to search the first Ben 10. We're gonna assume there's nothing here right now because I'm opening with 2 cards. Like, I could potentially have 3 other cards right here. Activate the Zeta, and send the Ben 10 into the graveyard, putting this onto the field. Now we get ourselves the ritual spell, Meteonus DRYTRON. From here, we activate the Ben 10, don't forget to activate it, and you can add yourself a Herald of the Orange Light to protect you. If you already have like another Fairy in hand, or you have a Lancia or something like that, you can put this into your hand, making your combo super safe. If you have any kind of Fairy, this is good. And even at the end, you're going to set up your Eva at the end regardless. So if your opponent built a board, they're not going to do anything to you at this particular point, or maybe they're forced to do something because they actually don't have some way to negate you, because they fear you going into your Lyrilisk right now and then just do a whole like Divine Zeus arsenal and just wipe the board. And remember, this guy's just a vanilla after the fact, so he's also a 3000 body, which can be used with Meteonus DRYTRON to revive your Ben 10. And if you have an additional if you have 1 additional DRYTRON, you can just build your board from there. But likely this is gonna die, so just keep that in mind. But that is one way to actually wipe your opponent's board. But let's continue with the combo, which is why people get really annoyed. Next step would be to link these 2 away. And we're going to go into a Union Carrier. Union Carrier target itself, go into the Dawn Knight because we need something that we can actually summon, and we need to send it to the grave. Basically prompto. Luckily, we're using the attack, so Union Carrier being the machine that can go to 2k, we're going to activate this. And there's not a lot of machines. There's Krishna Halki Vibrax, we have Union Carrier, and I think most of the other ones you can't really use very well. So we go to Meteonus DRYTRON. We're going to get rid of this, tribute this, summon out with the Ben 10 out of the graveyard. If you already have a Herald of the Orange Light, you might want to search yourself a second copy of Ben 10 just so that you can, if this gets crowed, you can summon it out again. But anyways, these go to the graveyard now, and the Dawn Knight is now going to activate. All right, so Dawn Knight is going to activate. We're going to put Gamma into the graveyard. Gamma's effect we're going to tribute the Ben 10, and now we get to summon out an additional body. So our additional body is probably going to be the Alpha. Luckily, this is going to be the fun part. Ben 10 and its effect is going to activate. We're going to add a Vanity's Ruler. But what if you already normal summoned? What do? If you already normal summoned, ideally you would have been throwing more Ben 10s into the graveyard than needed, especially when like if your hand traps aren't live and you're trying to break a board, try to load up on Ben 10s first. Then you can, instead of searching for Vanity's Ruler, just go ahead and search for Natasha and abuse Natasha like no tomorrow. Break the board, because this is still kind of threatening. You can go into Dragoon right here, or personally I would just go with a Natasha plays and just wreck the board and then go into a Dragoon, because that is now an option. But anyways, if we're going to do Vanity's Ruler, I did say we're going to do the Vanity's Ruler setup. So you get the ruler here, activate the effect of Meteona's DRYTRON, target one of your monster, reduce it by 8,000, and add this back to your hand. And now you can activate this card once again, because the activation to ritual summon is not once per turn. Get rid of the Alpha, summon the Ben 10 back onto the field, tribute both of these for a normal summon, and then the Ben 10 is going to activate. Now you can add yourself a copy of Eva, giving you the 2 negates that you need. Right? You get 2 negates from here. Unfortunately, because you don't have enough Ben 10, you're going to have to banish one of your Ben 10s if you do this. You have 2 negates and your Vanity's Ruler through 2 cards. That's a pretty easy combo, alright? Okay, this is the kill shot combo where you can negate the 1 hand trap that they have and basically kind of win the game. Starts off the same because you know how these 2 already work now based off of the previous combo, so we're just going to just do it. Summon this one out, add the Ben 10 into the hand, activate Zeta, tribute the Ben 10, summon the Zeta, and add the DRYTRON Meteonis. Ben 10 is now going to activate. Considering you already have these cards, you can add Eva if you want to be super safe about it. That's fine, but I think it's fair to just grab a Ben 10 right now, because you can just do the Eva part afterwards. It's just better to actually have additional Ben 10s in the graveyard. At least keep 2 in there just for safety reasons, and you're still pretty safe at this particular moment. You can activate the Delta now, tributing the Ben 10, summoning the Delta onto the field as well. Revealing this, drawing 1 card before you use the Ben 10 search. We're just going to grab ourselves a random card. Oh great, we got a Manju anyway. And now we're going to use the Ben 10 effect. Ben 10, now we can actually grab the Eva. From here, we can just do the Union Carrier shenanigan. Just grab the Union Carrier. Union Carrier activate its effect. Put these back here, and we're going to equip the Dawn Knight. Gotta make sure you can do this fairly quickly. You don't want to play into time, because you can technically win in time, but it's not really appreciated by your opponent. Now we can activate the Meteona's DRYTRON, and even if they crow out your Ben 10, you have another Ben 10. This is going to allow you to summon out Ben 10. Great. Dawn Knight's effect is going to activate. We know we're going to send the Gamma into the graveyard, and we're going to activate the... Well, we can activate Meteona's DRYTRON right now and add it back to our hand, and then we can use the Gamma effect. Let me just put this coin here. Gamma effect, tribute this, summon it back onto the field, and we're going to drop another monster back onto the field. We're going to drop the Alpha onto the field, and Ben 10's effect is going to activate. I guess we can grab... What do you want to grab? I mean, really, realistically, I guess we're going to go grab the Vanities, because that's the real monster that you want to sit on. You're going to get the Vanity's Ruler now, so you didn't hold a dead Vanity's Ruler because you can't summon it. We haven't normal summoned yet, so we can just go ahead and activate this Meteona's DRYTRON, and we're going to tribute one of our monsters. Not the Ben 10 again. We're going to take these 2. This is why it's kind of gross, because in the end of the day, you won't have 3 monsters. You won't be able to get super polyed at the end of this, because, well, first of all, you have Vanity's Ruler on the board. We've got rid of those 2. You can activate the effect of Predator Plant Verte Anaconda, put in the Red Eyes Fusion. Red Eyes Fusion, we're going to drop these guys, and super safe, because, like, what do you want to do to me right now? We're going to drop both Dark Magician and our Red Eyes, wherever you are. Am I blind? Did I just not see you? Oh, already dropped it. So there's the Red Eyes, and here's our Dragoon. Remember, we still have not summoned yet. We're not under the restriction of the activation of Red Eyes Fusion. We just can't special summon anymore, so let's do a tribute summon. Activate Ben 10 on the tribute summon, and this is pretty ridiculous. I mean, if you really want to make sure your opponent is gonna die, here's your choice right here. Or if you want to stop traps, if you want the variety to stop traps, you can fetch yourself the purple light. Like, this is really live. This is so many negates that I don't know how your opponent really wants to play here. Okay, this one here is a 3-card adaptive combo. You need to find your path and find the right tree depending on what you draw off the delta, because it completely changes everything. And of course, the other 2 cards make it so much easier to actually see something like this. It's more likely than not that you're going to see it. It's just because every card searches for each other, making it very flexible to adapt. But in this particular hand, no Zeta, which means either Manju is going to fetch me the card for the ritual spell, or I'm going to need to get into an additional body through Fafnir, through Nova. There's just a lot of cards you can draw, but let's start off the combo with this. I'm going to activate Alpha, tributing the Delta, because I want the Delta to get the additional draw. So we're going to summon out the Alpha, and we're going to search for a Ben 10 straight to our hand. Now we have 2 copies of it, so we're not really afraid of losing one. Activate the Delta. We're going to tribute the Ben 10, put that into the graveyard. Delta is going to activate. We're going to try our luck here and adapt, because then we can do the Ben 10 search in the new chain, and you can just choose what you need for that particular chain and just readapt and draw. So we got another copy of Alpha, which is completely unusable. This would be a bad draw for you because nothing is usable aside from being like I guess a tribute fodder. So this Ben 10 here is going to adapt, and we are basically guaranteed that, hey, if you really want to summon out the Vanity's ruler, you can search it now and then just tribute some of these 2 right away, and you can just put it on board. That's only if you think that it is secure with the other 3 cards available. But if you don't have that and you want to secure it and actually build something, maybe a handful of hand traps, then you're going to be forced to switch into adding a different fairy. You probably want to add yourself the Manju. This is that case where Manju is probably a bit more effective because you can fix up your hand and add that spell card. So we got the Manju here. Okay, the hand's not too bad. Now we can normal summon out the Manju. Manju's effect, we're going to add the ritual spell. Ritual spell will let you extend further. All right. And now that we've gotten our ritual spell, we have Ben 10. We're not really going to be able to do much tributing except for 1 additional tribute of the Ben 10, I believe. I think that's how it's going to be, because we can't do any kind of tribute summon, so the additional body is going to be coming from either the Gamma. So here's how we're going to push now. We're going to get rid of our Manju and our Delta. We're going to go into our Union Carrier. Union Carrier is going to equip Dawn Knight. And now that we have Dawn Knight, we're going to activate Meteorless DRYTRON. Getting rid of the 2, summoning out the Ben 10, and now Dawn Knight's going to activate. The most ideal monster here is going to be the Gamma. So we send the Gamma to graveyard. Activate Gamma. Tribute the Ben 10. And now we're going to summon back our Delta. Ben 10's going to activate. Herald of the Orange Light, or Lancia. If you know your matchup, just add the correct hand trap at this point. And from here, this is gone. Activate Meteorless DRYTRON, reduce the attack of one of your monsters. Whatever that you reduce, why don't we just put a Linkaribo out first? Then you can link these 2 away into Predator Plant Vertanaconda. Vertanaconda effect, pay your life, pay your dues, and drop all the dudes into the graveyard. summon out Red Eyes Dragoon. So you can do something like this. To protect yourself from a bit of life point damage, you have 1/2 negate, and you're ready to kind of go off again. So it's a simplified game state for you. I guess technically you still have 2 additional cards to keep playing, so I wouldn't be too worried because we did everything here with 3 cards, and so you finish your hand with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, and so that you have 2 more cards right here. Okay, a couple of cards that I probably would have changed. First of all, let's talk about the Meteonis DRYTRON, our Draconids. Draconids is a great card. It's searchable by emergency. It's great, but the problem is I don't really find summoning him very often. I would prefer to summon out a Blue Eyes Chaos Max, but Chaos Max is going to require you to use Gamma. If you don't have Gamma, you can't use it effectively. You need the double body to do the 4K tribute. But this is such a big threat. It has the natural protection the same as Dragoon, cannot be targeted and cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and it pierces on attack, and it's 4K. It runs over basically everything, and even if Dragoon negated once, it can't really, well, stop the Chaos Max Dragon. So you get a little bit of yugioh, a little bit of Yugi, a little bit of Kaiba, all in one deck, if you so choose, which is pretty insane. And since this punches for double damage on piercing, it really puts it into like a little bit of perspective by you swinging into one of your opponent's I don't know, a zoo monster that's not really properly equipped. Well, if it's a zoo monster not properly equipped, you basically kill them, and there's not much they can answer to. They can't pop it, they can't acquire, they can't conquistador, they can't Trident. Yeah, they are really just going to sweat bullets when this comes out. Whereas this one, you can't really activate the send effect on your own turn, which makes it a lot more defensive, in my opinion. Although your opponent cannot target this card with monster effects, which makes it safe from Trident, they can still pop stuff like Conquistador, and it's unfortunate. And like even the other one can still get popped by Conquistador because Conquistador does not target. Another option here, if you want to maximize your odds against, say, cards like I guess Ash or a Droll and Lockbird, consider running a copy of Instant Fusion as you're out. It synergizes nicely due to the fact that it is a level 1. Because it's a level 1, it can absorb whatever that's in the graveyard, and whatever it's equipped to, well, they're negated. In that sense, this is acting like a Call by the Grave plus the additional body. And since you're not like locked into summoning straight into the extra monster zone, you can just summon it anywhere and it will hold the board for you. It's decent, I would say. It's actually not too bad. It does cost you 1,000 life points, so if you try to go into, say, the Dragoon combo, you're going to be down a lot of life points, putting at 5k, which is a short range for you to die. The reach is really, really easy. In terms of side deck, I would probably take out Dark Ruler no more and swap it for Torrential Tribute. I agree with Zahir's advice, which is against Virtual World, the biggest issue is that if they go into VFD, you can't win. But if they go into VFD and you set Torrential Tribute, if they summon anything, if they try to go to Lao Lao to get additional bodies to push for game, you flip a Torrential on the right timing, everything dies. They don't have any sort of back row removal. So if they go into Vermilion Mech, anything, you can protect yourself. The Torrential Tribute will get rid of the monster for you and actually buy you a turn. And I don't think that's the only matchup you can use it against, which I think why a lot of people are playing Torrential Tribute very effectively these days. Now, Meteonis DRYTRON is a card that I consider putting another one in. I only played one in my current build, but I didn't get punished by DD Crow. Crowing this is just really brutal. You'll get one activation off of it, and that's it, and all your rituals are basically dead. And unless you already summoned out Natasha, it's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to grind very well without your ritual spell. Now, if you don't want to play the Dragoon package, so technically it's just 2 cards, highly recommend the Geonator Transverser. Aside from like the swapping effect, it's the protection effect that makes it very key. The protection effect with that and IP Masquerena, because now the IP Masquerena can't get popped. So when you go into Axis Code Talker and make an 43 Axis Code Talker, it cannot be destroyed by card effect, because if they have Trident, well, if they summon into the middle zone or the furthest zone closest to the deck, Geonator Transverser, if you summon it, now you can just build the IP Masquerena right under it, and they can't really pop your IP Masquerena. And when you get into, and luckily it's Earth 2, Earth Dark, you get 2 pops with your copy of Access Code Talker. and well, that's going to do a lot of damage, and this cannot be destroyed by card effects. So Trident is useless, Conquistador is useless. This is just such a safe play. You can even do it during your opponent's turn, which is kind of fun too, but why would you do that on your opponent's turn? And technically just these two, but if you want to cut out the Kikinagishi Fucho, swap back a Cerberus in there, because this kind of functions as the same thing. It's just popping cards similar to Cerberus, and it's also 2 materials to get that pop, and you don't actually have to discard, which is why I played the Dragoon. But if you're risking additional bricks through playing the Dragoon, if you had to cut an additional card just because you want to play the Thousand Eyes Restrict, it's super tight at this point. If you look at the extra deck, what can you take out? Like, are you willing to sacrifice your matchup against like Dogmatica and by taking out this package? I'm not sure if you're willing to. You can't take any of these out. You could try to take out a Herald of the Mirage Lights, because it's iffy in my opinion. It's a decent card. It does help you refetch your rituals. If you're running less rituals than normal, then you might want to consider cutting it. Oh, the other monster you can also run is Herald of Perfection. It's not Perfection, Ultimateness, because that thing is really strong. It also only requires 1 of your machine monsters to do your tribute. Those are some of the considerable changes that I might go through. I might cut the purple light just so that I can actually try to run some more of this stuff. You don't have to run a 40 build, but it is probably the most consistent. If you're gonna run a Dragoon, I don't recommend running a 40 build. It's just so risky, way too risky for my likes, especially when you're not running 2 Dragoons and like dedicating your board to just Dragoon set 5 pass. Like, that's not the way that we play DRYTRONs. We don't have that kind of back row capacity. So that's my hot take on DRYTRONs. Yeah, so that's kind of my build here. And whenever I got hand trapped down to the ground, the Dragoon kind of just took the game for me, because they were like, yeah, you're probably out of gas. You killed my... Basically, you killed your Zeus, killed your Vanities, and then Dragoon comes out and they're like, what the hell is going on? But that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, smash subscribe, ding the notification bell. It was a very, very fun time, I guess, showcasing the deck profile. And if you guys enjoy it, I appreciate you guys. And of course, you Patreons, thank you so much for making an awesome, well, a much personally better 2020 year. And hit subscribe, ding the notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. And happy holidays.